Well, you guys have asked for it a lot. So I'm here to talk all about the sheep barn, why we went with this sheep barn, what I like about it, what I don't like about it, what I have for water, what I have for feed, what do I have for a handling system. We're gonna talk about it all. The barn is made by a Canadian company called Brightspan. We built it in 2013. The barn was designed for 500 ewes. Right now, I think I'm just shy of 400 because I have some ewe lambs ready to come over any day. And then that will put me back up to about 460. It's 80 feet across. And it's 252 long from end to end. And this barn is a Brightspan Apex design. It's a little less hoopy and it's got a little more of an angle, and we really like that for snow load. As you can see, we got a little bit of snow overnight. It all day will fall off, which is really nice, and it's that real steep slope. I think that really helps. We also put in these chimneys, and that just helps with getting rid of that excess moisture and heat out of the barn. The curtains, they are run automatically. Now in the winter, I run them manually because snow falls on the bottom of these curtains. The one thing I wish I changed is that we cantilevered farther outside over that ledge so it wouldn't fall right on the curtain. And when it does that, there's snow on it, and then when they want to run automatically, they'll break a roller. The main layout of the barn is 4 lengths of pens. Those pens are all 192 feet long by 12 feet across. This south side of the barn is the side I reserve for lambing. These guys are due to lamb any day. Actually, they're due in a week. So I had some time and I set up these claiming pens. I get those at a Canadian company called Marv Weld. I will link a description below as to where I get those. That is also a frequently asked question. These are my feed bunks. I know it's old school thinking. I know this is what we used to have in bank barns for cows. But for this barn, I don't need a lot of space not being used by sheep. If I went just with a floor design, I'd have to make this big enough for a pull behind TMR. So I did go with these bunks so I could use a feed cart and I wouldn't need so much room wasted for a tractor and a pull behind TMR. So that's why we went with these bunks. A little hack also, we built these dividers. What was happening the first year when my lambs were in here, they found their way up through here, and then if I had that gate shut, they go around the gate and get lost in another pen, and then I didn't know whose lambs belonged to who. So that is why I number my lambs now, and it's also why we started building these at every gate. These are my Morocco heated water bowls. I do love these. This winter's been real cold, so I have a little bit of a coating of ice. If they don't use it enough, but it's still liquid underneath because I have heaters in the bowl. So they've kept this one open because they've been using that side. And I will link the description below as to where I got those as well. These pens here, what I did with the design, so we have 2 per pen, but you can split them in half. So we developed these water gates. I can shut this gate. It's got a cutout for the bowl. So if I want to split this pen in half, which I will be doing when they start lambing, so one big complete length can be made into 4 pens. all the gating we also used Marv Weld, a one-stop shop. We ordered everything at the same place just for ease. These are just a 4-post T-post, I guess you could say, and that's so I can attach gates going this way or attach gates going this way. Now, a lot of people will look at this end and they'll say, wow, what a waste of space. But you would be surprised how much I actually require. When I get my handling system running and moving, I put a lot of gates out because I use a pen for the incoming sheep into the handling system, and then I use this pen as an outgoing, or I use the center alley, or possibly I use one of these pens. So I do use a lot of this area for gates and for deflecting ewes one way or the other. The other side is my whole feed area, and when you have the bobcat coming in and out, I have to make a fairly wide turn just so I can get into that TMR square. So it does get used more than I thought. I thought, what a waste of space. The only, I guess, waste of space is sheep are short, so we have a lot of height in this barn. And this is probably the most worked corner of the barn. This handling system, it gets used weekly, I would say, with vaccinations or hoof trimming or sorting, pre-breeding stuff, evaluations, what have you. This is a Marv Weld system. This is the crowding tub. This door is what would shut behind them wherever you want them to go, and then it would lock behind them so they can't push it back. It's got a pulley, and that's different from the old ones. It didn't have this. So now instead of having to push back on the sheep, I can go behind them this way on this pulley and go behind them this way. This corner is the feed corner. I usually park the feed cart here. The telehandler is usually pretty close in case I ever have to plug it in. We do have a bin for our dry corn, and it's run by Auger. That's a total mixed ration mixer. In the corner here is where we keep our creep feed. So that's a 2-ton bin. We do this because bulk is still cheaper to buy your feed. So this would be all that creep that I feed the lambs that are in with their mums lactating. So there's the feed cart, the mixer, and then the belt, the discharge belt. So I fill here, as you've seen numerous times in my videos. Now this barn is not insulated, so in the winter it is cold. I do have, the curtains never really do ever find their happy place right at the top, so snow will blow in. To combat winter, I just don't lamb in January and February. I've learned the hard way. I lamb in December and March to get around those months. So as you can see, the side alleys are quite a bit more narrow, and that's why we have that feed cart. It just saves us needing a wider area just for vehicles. Seriously, dog. Oh, she's so rude. I'm so distracted now. Where was I saying? We figured it's well worth our money to spend on ewe space and not area for vehicles to deliver feed. So that's why we use the feed cart. Last but not least, we have a warm room, and it is the smallest room of the building. Some days I wish it was bigger because it's hard to store everything. So I have 2 of these really cheap shelving units that I got at like Canadian Tire, Costco. I have my lambing kit usually really close by. The kids have their timesheets. All the electrical has to get in here, so we have to keep mice out. That's why we have it pretty baited in here, just in case. And I have running water, and this is a godsend. Some days I wish this little guy was bigger because I run out of hot water pretty quick when you're in the heat of lambing for sure. Hot water is really nice to have when you're mixing bottles and colostrum and all that nice stuff. The biggest question I get asked is if I did this all over again and I had the choice to build whatever I wanted, whether it be a barn, like a bright span fabric structure like this, would I do it again? What would I change? The first year I didn't like any of it because I'm so used to barns. I'm not used to being cold. I'm not used to having to dress in 6 layers in the winter. I came from chicken barns that were at about a 68-degree temperature, consistent temperature every single day. To come to this type of structure was a huge shock to the system. But in saying that, now if you ask me would I build this again, I would. I love the light. I love the fresh air. In the summer is fantastic, except for the hot, humid days. And those hot, humid days with no breeze, that is the one thing I would change. Is I would love to put in the big ass fans, the great big fans you see in dairy barns. I am gonna look into that this year. That is on the list of things to look at, price out, see if it's in the budget this year to add that. But my July breeding group is a tricky one to get good conception, and I'm wondering if the rams would respond with some more air on them in July. The other thing is, and it's not here to show you, but my nanny, so my automatic lamb milker is not here. I put it in the shop to keep warm because I don't want it to freeze. I guess looking back, if I knew I was gonna have a fairly prolific breed, I would have designed some sort of a lamb nursery that I wouldn't have to take that thing out of. The other thing I wish I had done is figured out a way to put in water for my claiming pens. A lot of people have really cool designs with like gravity-fed water tubes going down. I wish I did that, but with these modular lambing pens getting moved all the time, I just don't know how that would work here. So I do struggle with water and water freezing in the winter, so I do wish I'd thought about that before I did this barn. Other than that, I'm really happy with this structure. The reason we went with this structure in the first place is because if anything ever happened, and I know you don't want to hear this, but the lamb market hasn't always been strong. So we want options. I'm the only one in the family that is doing this. So if anything happened to me, God forbid, we wanted everything removable. So everything you see here, the bunks, the penning, everything can be taken out, and this can be just a big storage solution for anything. We just wanted options. That's why we went with this instead of a barn as well. My whole life I've wanted something I could call my own, and I'm really happy with this. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, and then I can answer them and everybody can see the replies. Thanks again for all your questions. I've got a couple more that I'm working on. Thanks for watching.